Hello and welcome back to part 3 of my build series. So today we need to actually build it. So first step first is obviously take off the panels from the case that we have. But as you can see, I was struggling with it because it is a cheaper case and the threading's not as top notch as other cases. So I had to use uh, pliers or needle nose pliers to actually take off the little thumb screws. It's really hard to do, so I took those off, and then you'll see that it's taking me a while, but they come off. And once they do come off, it's actually really easy. Just push the panels, slide and slide them out, and then there they are. One panel is see-through. It's plastic. It's not glass. And it does have an RGB case fans, two of them actually. So you can see it how it is. It's ready to go. It has the cables for the front I/O and the little screws in the little bag right there. The fan in the back has the cable. That's where the motherboard goes. It already has the little base screws for the motherboards. This is the front shot. You'll see how it lights up later on in the front part. Looks really nice. Actually, we like this case. Not as much as the other case, the red one I built, but this one's really nice too. I like it because it has 3 fans. It's orange, so it's nice. It was under $40, so you can't go wrong with this type of case for an entry level build. So what do we do first? First, we are going to put in the power supply, right? Why are we going to do that? Well, it's like a really big clunky thing that you're not really going to move at all. Once it's in there, you just don't care about. And then you have the cables, because if you put it in afterwards, the cables could get stuck on something. It could pull something off loose. It can break a little. Maybe if you have a lower end cheap motherboard, it might pull off a capacitor. So you never know. And also, if you're a little nervous because it's your first build, you have a power supply. If you drop it, you'll see the power button there. If you drop it, it could damage the motherboard if you install the motherboard first. So, don't do that. Just put in the power supply first, get it out of the way. Keep the cables nice and neat outside. You have to put in the 4 screws. And later on, you'll see there's a little problem here because it switches in the off position. So it won't turn on, but that's fine. So just make sure that you safely secure the power supply, 4 screws, and you're done. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get the motherboard out of the box, and we are going to put the CPU on the motherboard. We're actually going to install it right now. Last time I didn't do an unboxing for you for the CPU. This time it's kind of an unboxing, but basically just open it. I have a knife there because the little white tape with the serial numbers, it's really stuck on there, so just cut it off. And don't rip it off. Why? Because if it doesn't work and you have to return it, they need to scan that barcode again. And if you mess everything up, it's not going to look nice. They're going to think that maybe you did it on purpose, so they want to accept the return, So it's just cut it nicely along the edge of the box. Open it. Here you see that it's 93. And that way you avoid headaches with like Fry's or Best Buy or, wherever you bought your CPU. So the first thing is, make sure that the CPU little notches are lined up. And you saw the close-up of the CPU right now. It has little like kind of half circle indentations on the sides. You need to make sure that those are in there. You'll see that right here. I hesitate because I couldn't really see it, but then I'm like, okay, I know where it is. This is fast forwarded, so obviously it doesn't look like I hesitated, but you'll see that it's like, oh wait a minute, I don't think it's going in the right way. But yeah, okay, this is the one. I cut the bad take, so that's fine. You just push that down. You make sure you put a little lever underneath. Make sure you put it underneath the little screw, and you kind of pull it towards you or away from the CPU, and that's it. The little thing kind of just pops open. You take it off. There's the CPU stock cooler. Don't buy anything else for a stock cooler for an i3, especially since it's not overclockable. It's not unlocked. It's an i3 8100. Don't waste money on the cooler. Get that money. Maybe use it for a better motherboard, more RAM, maybe a nice little 120 gig SSD. So it's pretty cool because you put the CPU cooler, which already has the thermal paste on it, and all you do is just kind of like screw it on. It's really easy. You just snap on the 4 screws there, and you're good to go. It's very, very easy. No screwing to. If you take it off, then you do need a screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver. But in this case, you don't need it. You can just make sure it clicks. It'll do 4 clicks, 1 per little screw, and you're all set. And it doesn't really matter which way you put it. I oriented it in this way because I wanted the the word Intel on it to look nice, like if you're looking at it from the side. But then that kind of screwed up my fan here. So then I had to struggle and taking the little fan connection out, and then like, and that doesn't look good. So I have to redo it. I'm just showing you what not to do. Make sure that the cables don't touch the fan, because if the fan doesn't start up when you start up the computer, the CPU just it won't do anything. It'll say, hey, there's no cooling involved. The fan won't spin, something stuck. I'm done. I'm not gonna start up for you. So you just plug it in there. The next step is using the RAM. This motherboard only has 2 slots, so just pick one and put it there. If you have like one of the bigger RAMs or whatever, you might want to put it on the RAM slot that's farther away from the CPU, and maybe that's better because it'll cool it. It won't be as hot, near the CPU. But it's an i3 8100, not overclockable. You're fine. It's not a big deal. So once we have that installed, we need to make sure that the motherboard goes in there first. So right now, I'm going to check the motherboard. You put it in there, you'll see the little screws beneath the little holes. This motherboard, even though it's small, it has 6 screws. You'll see that those 2, but the one at the very bottom on the right side, there's no little holder there. So what you need to do is you need to take those 2 off and then move them over. Now, if you do have a bigger motherboard, you'll saw in the case that it has the cables tied with a little bag of screws. There's like 2 more in there, or 3 or 4. So you can get those out, and then you can put all of them. And you should install all of them for the motherboard that you need. And basically, this is because if you have part of the motherboard that's kind of like loose or kind of like a cantilever beam. Yes, I'm an engineer, so I'll use those analogies. It's like an airplane wing. It's just hanging off the edge. You can bend it, you can snap it, you can crack it. You can damage your motherboard. So don't do that. Just make sure that all of your little place holding screws are nicely tucked in. So once those are in there, before you install the motherboard, you need to put the I/O shield, which is the one I'm doing right now. Not very fancy, very cheap motherboard, very low end, $66. You're not gonna get much flash with them. So, just put them in there, make sure that it snaps in there. It'll be a little bit of work. You won't break it. I mean, yes, yeah, I guess you can break it, but even if you try it really hard, you're not gonna break it. It's metal. You'll bend it a little bit maybe, but then it'll go back in. That's fine. But you really have to like force it in there. It may feel like you want to break it, but you're not going to break it. It's fine. Worst case scenario, if the I/O shield does break, you will have a PC without one. And that's not really a big deal to me. I don't think. Okay, so the fan is loose there, so I need to raise that a little bit. Put the motherboard in there, and we're set. Just leave the fan connection on there, whatever. Now I need to go grab the screws, and I need to screw this in place. So what you want to do is you want to pick one, doesn't matter which one, but do a corner, and then do the opposite corner. That's where you're supposed to install the motherboard, and make sure that way the holes line up. And then do that hole in the other corner, and then do the other corner at the other end, which is what I'm doing right now. And then you can put in the last 2, which are kind of like a third of the way up, right? So let's see. And again, if you need more of those little screws or in the little bag, some motherboards come with them. Some of them, actually, I think most of them don't, but some of them do. And the case should have the motherboard screws, so you're all set. Should be okay. If not, you can go to Home Depot and buy a set. The next step is to install the storage drive. In this case, I am installing a 3.5-inch solid-state hybrid drive, 1 terabyte. It has 8 gigs of flash memory, which is enough for a quick boot of Windows. And it has the rest is, which is what, like almost the whole thing, is just the hard. It's a spinning disk hard drive, and make sure that the screws can fit in there in the holes. So it does stick out a little bit, which is kind of annoying, but it's fine. Just grab 4 screws from the little bag that comes with your case. And then you see that I did take off the bag, but I put the cables back in there just so they don't bother me. So just do that, just to keep it neat for now. And then, just screw those in. I think I messed up a thread on one of these, where it doesn't really go in all the way, or I don't know what I did. But it's in secure pretty well in there. And there's 2 screws on this side, and there should be two screws on the other side. which you also need to do. You know, you don't just do one end of the hard drive, right? Or the storage drive if you're using an SSD, that works too. So now you flip over the case and you'll see that it only has one hole, which is fine. I mean, 3 holes is fine. Ideally, you would want 4, but what can you do with this case? You know, that's fine. Put that in there. Once you're done, and then you can decide to install all the little I/O ports on the front for the PC case. So you see, look at your diagram for your motherboard. All motherboards are different. Make sure that you understand this really well. You shouldn't short anything out with any of these. In my worst case scenario, it won't work. But you know, just really be careful with this. Look at it 2 times, look at it 3 times, whatever. So once you do that, connect the other connections. So here you see the fan that we connected first at the very beginning. Then right there, the big one with all the little red, yellow, and black and purple cables. That's the power for the motherboard. Then right next to that is a USB 3, and next to that is the SATA, which goes to the drive, the black one. I see SATA, USB 3, and power. And then on the other side of the CPU, so there's the fan for the CPU. The other one is the fan that we have for the case fan, which is the one in the front. And then I grabbed this fan here and I connected it via the Molex to the other connection. So I'm daisy chaining these 2 fans, right? And then if you want, you can daisy chain another one from Molex. You can do 3. It's not really a big deal. Don't do any more than 3. You could do 4 probably, but don't do that. Just do 2 or 3. So that's what that looks like. And you'll see the front cables there. So those are connected. Here's the power supply connected. Everything's, you know, the cable management is not that good in this case. Also, the power supply's cables are short. You know, so you can't really go behind it and then make sure that it's out of the way. I guess I should replace the power supply. But now we're ready to power up. And the problem here is that, like I said, I didn't turn on the switch, flip the switch on the power supply. So it actually won't work right now. I tried to turn it on and it won't work. So just, you know, I know we're all eager to get our computer up and running, but sometimes you just can't do it the first time. Just gotta make sure that you do some stuff. Yeah, make sure the power switch and the power supply is on before you start disconnecting everything else, right? And now it turns on. See? So before it, you know, before you start disassembling, oh my god, the cables aren't working, make sure that everything's plugged in correctly, everything's in the on position. If you're connecting it to a power strip, make sure the power strip is on. Also, some houses or apartments have a switch on the wall for that one outlet connection, so you gotta make sure that everything's turned on. That it booted up, no problem. Yep, no problem. No boot device, right? So now I have to go and make one. So while I make the boot device, we can go into the BIOS, which is what we're going to do right now. But it does turn on, so I like that. Good news. So we'll look at the BIOS now. Let's see if I need to press delete to get into BIOS. Ooh, there you go. Okay. Let's see what they have here. CPU speed 3.6, memory. Does it have a drive storage? Let's see here. So that's the CPU, memory. Yep, storage. It does recognize everything. Good. Fan info. Excellent. Help. Okay. We're up and running here. Nice. So now I plugged in the USB drive here. It's a USB 2.0. It's 16 gigs. It's pretty cheap now. You can get those for like $2 for each one of them now. They're super cheap. Get one. Dedicate one USB for that, and then you're all set. I got this from work. We do a lot of computer work at my work, so you know we just get this version. And yes, it's Russian and English. We just hacked together a version, but don't worry. You know, as a business, we do have to use real, you know, keys. But this is just faster than you know, downloading over and over again, or getting, you know, DVDs that are going to take forever to load. So we just hacked together a USB flash drive, bootable drive for this. We install it in all our PCs, and then we go into Windows and we just buy the codes. And of course, you have to go through the updates. Once you're done with those updates, which is a lot, it took like all night, and I have pretty fast internet. It's just taking a while because this version of Windows that we have is so old. But that's fine. You see the LED fans here, they're all turned on, they're glowing, the power switch is on. And you know what? Read this. You should always update your BIOS when making a new computer. Go ahead and pause it if you want to. There you go. So that's it for now. You know, we updated our BIOS, we booted up again, we did some more Windows updates. We're all set, we're done. The computer is up and running. Now what I did was I downloaded some games that I'm going to benchmark and test for you guys without a GPU, because GPUs are still a little bit more expensive than what I want to spend. But yeah, that'll be for our next video. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you on my next one. Bye.